Welcome back, it's me Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at this Marvel Studios Spider-Man in his black and gold outfit. Alright, to the best of my knowledge, I think this is supposed to represent Spider-Man as he appears in the upcoming Spider-Man No Way Home movie, I think. I remember seeing the trailer, and I remember seeing an image of, the black and gold Spider-Man. And I don't know if this figure is just a repaint of an older figure, so it looks like the newer version of the figure, or if this is the actual real costume. But for whatever reason, we'll review this figure now, and judge it on its own merits. So in the previous video, I gotta remember, I haven't uploaded it yet. I just filmed it, and I'll get around to uploading it, later this week. I shot a review on another figure from this wave, and it was the Iron Spider figure. And I don't want to go into this video because I already talked about in this video. So if you watched the review on this video, I talk a little bit about the price point of this figure. And I need clarification on what the actual retail price of this figure is supposed to be, because I think at the moment, or at least when I bought this figure, I think it was $1 more than what the previous budget figures were. Previously, I think the Spider-Man budget figures from the last movie were like priced reasonably around $9 to $10, whereas this one, I think when I bought it, was actually more than $10. So yeah, I need some clarification on the pricing of this figure, because I think I've even seen this at Walmart, but it was cheaper. So I don't know if Hasbro's jacking up the price on the budget figures, or if it was just a weird anomaly or whatever. So just watch that video, where I talk about that. But for now, let's just focus on this guy. So yeah, we have the black and gold costume here. As I said before in the last video, I think the package design is pretty decent. I have an issue with this whole mystery web gear stuff because there is no mystery. The mystery web gear, big question mark. What am I getting? It's right there. There's no mystery behind it. So I don't know why they're trying to market that as a mystery, because clearly it's not a blind bag figure. You do see what you're getting, so there's no mystery involved. It's ridiculous. I love the artwork here. That's beautiful. I'm not sure if this is what he looks like in the new film or not, but if it is, it looks awesome. On the back, it describes Spider-Man. Spider-Man gears up in his black and gold suit to fight evil and defeat villains everywhere. Okay, so there it is. It's not very descriptive of what this costume is or why it's different, but I don't know, there it is. And here's the mystery web gear. Lots of crazy webbing. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. First impressions of this figure while it's still in the tray. He's very gray. So I think on the back of the box it says Spider-Man battles evil in his black and gold uniform. But this is a very dark gray. It's not actually black. The figure is also very small. Alright, so we have Spider-Man here in his black and gold uniform. The mystery web gear, which isn't really a mystery. We have this thing. And as corny as these accessories are, I gotta admit, I do like this one here. It's like a weird, webbing / faceplate. It's kind of neat. Okay, so we have Spider-Man in what's supposed to be a black and gold uniform, but as you can see, the figure is clearly of just a very dark gray. Right, I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of the sculpting. Not so much in terms of the articulation. As I've mentioned in my review for this figure, it seems like a step backwards just because in the more recent budget lines that we've gotten from Hasbro, like Avengers Mech Strike, they've given us a lot more articulation. Whereas this guy, it's very much standard, what you expect with a basic figure. You get the head that rotates, the arm that rotates and goes out. They bend at the elbow. This one's a little tight, just like the other figure. Let's see if I can get it. without breaking the figure. Dang. Yeah, some of these figures, it's kind of like, I don't see how you could like play with it if you're a child and not break it. It's like super stiff. All right, so there, the elbows bend. It's a very tight bend. But once you bend it that one time, it kind of like loosens up. So the elbows bend, they rotate. No wrist articulation, no waist swivel. The legs only kick up. They cannot kick out. There's no knee articulation, no ankle articulation. Like I said, it's disappointing. With Hasbro, they've done such a great job with some of their more recent budget lines. Avengers Mech Strike, amazing. Great articulation. The budget line for Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins, that budget line, the Baroness, the Storm Shadow, the Snake Eyes, articulation, amazing. Oh man, this hurts me. It's like it's such a step backwards. But at the same time, I gotta remember, some of these might be reissues. So I passed on the budget line from the last Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home. I didn't get those budget figures. And I was very grateful that when they released this line of figures, there was a new Mysterio, which I believe was a re-release of the last movie. So I'm glad they gave us that. But there's something about, if this is a reissued Spider-Man, but he's just colored to look more like the new movie. I don't know. I feel, not that I feel gypped, but man, I was looking forward to this just because I've been spoiled by the recent budget figures with all the articulation they've given us, and that this is us. I can't say it's a step backwards if it's just a reissued figure from 3 years ago. But looking past the articulation, let's just try to judge the figure best on its own merits. The sculpting is beautiful. One thing I appreciate about this figure a lot is that I love that the webbing on this guy is actually embossed. So it's more of a relief, so you can actually feel the webbing along his head. Whereas this one's webbing, it bothers me because the webbing on his head is harder to see, but the web lines are actually scribed into his head. And it doesn't feel as premium or look as premium as opposed to having the webbing sculpted so that you can actually feel it on the surface. This one, the webbing's actually carved into it, so it's like lines are like this cut into the head. So this one has a much better effect going on in terms of the webbing and the surface detail. In terms of surface detail, this guy's nice. Even though it's a budget figure, you have a beautiful micro texture on his uniform, as you can see right there. The webbing's nice. The spider emblem, nice high definition sculpting and detail. Like, for everything that this figure does wrong in terms of articulation or lack of articulation, it makes up for it in terms of its sculpting and detail. So, it's a kind of like a, I don't want to say it's a fair trade, but you're giving up the articulation for a really nicely sculpted, detailed figure. So in terms of the sculpting, it's superb. The detail is really nice. The paint application's decent too. Doesn't look like there's any overspray or bleeding in terms of the gold, especially when you get some of these fine patterns along his forearm. It looks nice. My gripes is that this figure could be black actually, as opposed to this dark gray. I like the color choices of black and gold, but this is not a black action figure. This is clearly a very dark gray action figure. I don't sound too nitpicky, but I don't know. It's cool though. I mean, it's a nice figure. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on it too much. In terms of the funky accessories, I kind of like this this weird webbed helmet. So you can put it over his face. It looks kind of cool. These weird things, I don't know. I'm kind of over them. They look weird. But if you're a kid, I'm sure you'll love them. It gives you a webbing effect. So yeah, I mean, we have the two different Spider-Mans here. All right, so supposedly these are from the new movie. The Iron Spider costume here, the colors are a little bit different than what we saw in Endgame and Infinity War. Let me get this into focus. It doesn't want to focus this guy. This guy does not like being in focus. This guy does. Yeah, they're cool. But it's like I said, I don't know how accurate this costume is in the new movie. And I'm not sure if this is just a weird repaint or something, but from the looks of the detail, it looks like this might be a new costume altogether. It looks a little bit more high tech. Because some of these patterns, like on his back, they look more like a circuit board than anything else. And I don't believe his previous costumes had that kind of like detail on it. Alright, so if I had to rate this guy numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, I gave this guy here a 6. To be honest, I like this guy a little bit more, so I'm going to give this guy at least a 6.5 to a 7. It's alright. If you could get him for like $9, it's worth the money, I think. Especially if you're a Spider-Man completist, you know, you need all the different looks and versions of his costume. And since we're on the subject of black costumed Spider-Man, I have two more right here with me. We have the Marvel Legends black costume Symbiote Spider-Man in his original black costume. And then we have this Marvel... I'm not sure if it's a Marvel Legends. I know this is made by Hasbro. And this predates the modern figure engineering that we see in the Marvel Legends. It's a weird figure. It's weird because it feels more... even though it's a Hasbro figure, it feels more like a Toy Biz figure than a Hasbro one. This one's dated 2009. So this is a very old action figure by now. Yeah, so we have two different versions of the black costume. We have the black and gold, and we have the Iron Spider. This is nice. I'm sure many of you out there who are watching this, if you're a Marvel Legends collector, you probably have this in your collection. It's cool. I've had issues with this body specifically, the butterfly joints. You know, sometimes they'll get stuck and then they'll just be wrecked. The paint jobs aren't always the cleanest either on this figure. But, you know, it's the black costume Spider-Man. You know, you gotta have it. And it's super articulated. He's lanky. He looks like he could get him in all sorts of crazy, like Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson Spider-Man poses. And it's neat. I like this guy a lot. I think it's just because of the time period. You know, this guy was made in 2009. The articulation's horrible by today's standards. But the sculpting's great. You know, it's kind of like that weird, exaggerated, like, musculature. And even though he's very limited in his posing, and the articulation's kind of funky, especially around the thighs and the legs, I think it's a neat figure. I like this a lot. I don't know. It's a product of its time. So yeah, let's kind of like wrap this up. This wasn't a very long video. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot to say about this. Partly because I think all I had to say about this line, I said it in this figure's review. So if you want the complete experience, watch this figure's review, and then, you know, you can watch this and tie it all in together. So I don't want to sound like I'm a hater on these two figures. I do like them. I think, it's like I said, I'm just a little bit disappointed because I've been spoiled by some of the stuff that Hasbro's been giving us lately. Like some of their more recent budget figures, they've been amazing. And these, if they're reissues, you know, I gotta forgive it because, you know, they're just reissuing figures from a few years ago. But if, in the case of this guy, or even this guy, if these are actually like made for the new movie, they just feel a little bit dated. They feel a little bit dated. They feel a little bit smaller than they should, especially for being budget figures. Like, I know the budget superhero figures from Hasbro, they're not the same scale as the Marvel Legends. They generally fall within 5 to 5.5 inches, but for some reason, these seem just kind of small. But it could be argued that, you know, Peter Parker, Tom Holland, you know, he's supposed to be a teenager in these movies, so, you know, he's supposed to be a smaller character. But it's still cool nonetheless. If you're a fan of this, you know, the black costume Spider-Man, it goes without saying, you know, you probably need this guy in your collection. This one, it's a fun figure to have if you can find it. It's a throwback to, you know, the earlier Hasbro Marvel Legends. I'm not sure if this is a Marvel Legends, but it is a Hasbro Spider-Man figure. You're going to be disappointed by the articulation, but it's such a very different feel for the sculpting than what we're getting now that I think you can appreciate it. Like I said, it feels like it's part Toy Biz, part Hasbro. So it's a nice in between, and I like this figure a lot. I like the sculpt. I like the sculpting. The musculature is nice. It's a very cool take on the black costume Spider-Man. I like this guy a lot. He's awesome. So wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for all your support. I appreciate all the comments, likes, and whatnot. So until the next video, go out there, buy some toys, play with toys, share your toys. I don't know, you probably have toys on the brain. So I'll talk to you later. Take care.